Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. For this live stream, I'm going to go ahead and talk about setting boundaries and how to eliminate or work on people pleasing. Now, let's first start by defining why we must set boundaries and why it's necessary to set boundaries in every and each relationship. It can be with our parents, family members, friends, strangers, acquaintances, our boss, employers, our coworkers, or just out in public. It's very necessary to set boundaries with every and each person that comes in contact with us, because even a stranger cannot respect our boundaries physically, maybe very close to us in the line, and then we need to set a boundary, tell them they can give us our space. Or someone just sharing too much information that's very explicit, we need to set a boundary there as well. So there's different types of boundaries, but first let's begin why it's important to set boundaries. A boundary, so it's not to keep people out, it's to create a safe space to protect yourself, your well-being, your energy, and your sanity from other people who need to understand where your boundaries are so they can know how they're able to treat you, what they're able to do to you, and what you will tolerate and what you will not tolerate in every and each relationship or with just people in your life. It's important. We need to know that having standards is important, especially if we can live by those standards and we hold ourselves to a high regard. It's normal to set boundaries. Because there are sometimes times where we need to establish a limit with people. We need to put a limit to how they treat us, how they talk to us, how they behave towards us, how they think that they can manipulate and deceive us. We need to set boundaries and be assertive. And not problematic, but being assertive and making sure that we stand up for ourselves when it's needed. Thank you so much for the contributions. And so the question that we ask is, why are boundaries important? Well, healthy boundaries are necessary. They're a component for self-care and self-respect and self-love. When you respect yourself, you're not going to allow someone to come towards you treating you like you're less than or you're not important, because you're going to set a boundary telling them that I'm just as valuable as you are and I deserve respect, and you set your boundaries then and there. Without boundaries, we will feel depleted, emotionally exhausted, tired. People will take advantage of us, will take us for granted, or they'll intrude upon our own privacy, our personal life. They'll think that they can just come into our life and tell us how to live our life. So we need to set boundaries, even with family, even with friends who think that they're entitled to our personal lives. And so it's a limit so people will not trespass your life and get in the way of even your walk with God. Setting a boundary there as well, your time. There's different types of boundaries, but the most important reason why we set boundaries is because we do not want to be taken advantage of. Many of us have struggled to set boundaries, and we enable people, or we end up not sticking to our boundaries because we end up thinking, oh, it's okay, this time I'll let them get away with it. This time it's okay for them to do that. No, stick to your boundaries, especially if you're uncomfortable and they're causing distress in your life. and while they're being comfortable, while they're taking and taking from you, and you're suffering and you're uncomfortable with the fact that they're just demanding way too much out of you, set a boundary right there. Boundaries help us to take care of ourselves by giving us permission to say no to things that we do not want to do and to not take everything on. We're not responsible for everything, and we're not responsible for meeting other people's needs and what they want and what they expect out of us. When someone in our life comes with us with this high expectations that we have to do this and that in order to be loved or accepted by them, set your boundary or cut them out of your life if they continuously trespass and ignore the boundary that you set with them. So, boundaries are also basic guidelines that we create in order to establish how people will be able to behave around us. Even backhanded compliments, even little side remarks about your personal life. So when are you going to have a relationship? When are you going to get married? These are all personal boundaries. And people are not entitled to all your personal information, even family or your time. So we are the main characters in our life. We are our longest relationship. We need a relationship with ourselves, and we have to make sure that we're treating ourselves with the same love and respect that we're giving to others. We're also embodying that with ourselves, because then if we're not, we're going to attract people who will disrespect us, who will talk down to us, who will act like we're less than them, because we're not giving ourselves enough credit. We're so hard on ourselves, and we're so easy on other people. We let people get away with mean things that they do to us. But God even wants us, that's the fact, God wants us to live a peaceful life, to live a life with love, to not live with confusion, with lying and deception. That it says it even on there. And so boundaries mean creating rules and limits with other people. And it could actually make your relationship healthier and safer. You feel safe in that relationship. You don't feel like you're being taken advantage of, like someone's always getting more and taking more than they give. So that's why it's important to set boundaries, especially with entitled and selfish and toxic people. They will try to take as much as they can with people who have poor boundaries. And it's okay to be too nice, but make sure that you're not giving the best parts of yourself, all your love, the best to the wrong people. You're not putting your heart, your trust, loyalty, your respect in the hands of someone that can't even treat you right. That's why we set boundaries, so we protect ourselves. It helps us emotionally, physically, and spiritually. We're in spiritual warfare, and we need to practice and enforce and set strict boundaries with energy vampires, with toxic manipulators, Decepticons, and anyone who tries to take advantage of us. Especially when they don't appreciate us, when they treat us bad. We have to set those boundaries, those limits. And do not reward bad behavior. When someone keeps taking advantage of you, do not tell them, it's okay, don't worry. No, you set a boundary right there. You tell them, I do not accept the way you're talking to me. Please don't talk to me that way. I will leave if you continue to talk to me this way. And you walk away. So let me give you an example. If someone comes towards you very hostile, very aggressive, wanting to start a drama, an argument with you, you are not responsible to being there, to playing a part, because that's going to leave you emotionally depleted, and you're not going to waste your time arguing back and forth. So what you can do is set a boundary and say, I don't respect the way you're talking to me. If you continue to talk to me this way, I'm going to leave. And if they continue to talk to you like that in a high voice, like aggressive, or talk down to you, you leave. And you walk away until they come back, talking to you respectfully. I did this with a person and it worked. I'm still working on establishing boundaries. I'm not fully there yet to establishing boundaries. I still struggle sometimes because I always have that inner dialogue telling me you don't want to hurt their feelings, but what happens if they need you? And being codependent, being raised by narcissists, um, it's difficult to set boundaries because codependents have been programmed to always being the caretaker, always being the enabler. But at times, we end up struggling more in the long run because we're running low all the time. And we have to understand that we have to separate our physical space, our feelings, our own needs, and our responsibilities from other people. Just like other people are responsible for that as well. They're responsible for their own feelings, they're responsible for meeting their needs, and they're also responsible for their own responsibilities. So one thing I want to start by saying is chosen ones. We have to stop allowing people to feel entitled to us. And this goes with people pleasing. So we have to stop wanting the validation, attention, acceptance from people that we don't even like ourselves either. They're negative, they're selfish, they're self-righteous, self-entitled. We don't have to please them. They're gonna be negative, and we're not responsible for their happiness and meeting whatever needs they have. We have to seek inner validation from within. And this goes with not being a people pleaser. Because we often say, I want people to accept me. I'm such a good person and I don't understand. I'm so nice to them. Why are they treating me like this? It's not true, the fact that people have said, treat people the way you want to be treated. To an extent, toxic people are still going to be toxic even if you're nice to them. Negative people are still going to want to drain your energy even if you're being positive to them. You can be as positive as the sun to these negative people, and they're still going to have something to complain and be negative about because that is part of who they are. And so we have to treat ourselves the way that we want to be treated. Treat ourselves. Don't treat them the way you want to be treated. Treat ourselves the way that we want to be treated. So I'm going to say that again. We are not responsible to treat people the way that they want to be treated without earning it, or when they're being abusive and toxic to us. We are responsible for the way that we want to be treated. So look within instead of externally. And this will help you with people pleasing. Okay. So, another point with saying that is that you're not responsible to meeting everyone's wants and needs. We live in a very selfish culture, very narcissistic culture, where people feel entitled to people, and they feel entitled to your time, to you, to your attention. But when the roles reverse, they don't give what they expect you to give. So they expect you to do so much for them, but they wouldn't do the same for you. And this is why it's important to set boundaries and say, I'm not going to be in any one sided relationship. And I'm going to pull myself away when I realize that I'm not getting anything out of this relationship. We all have to add some sort of value into each relationship that we go into. We all have to add value into those relationships. And they have to add value into your life, not just take away value out of you and out of your authenticity, your divinity. They're not going to just come and take value from you and taking the best parts of you away. Meanwhile, they run off with what they take, and they go on and go find other givers to take advantage of. So that's why we need to protect ourselves, and that's why we have a voice to speak up for ourselves. And so we need to realize when we're being manipulated as well, or deceived, because manipulators are going to try to make you feel like you're obligated and make you feel guilty, make you feel bad, play on your emotions, and make you feel really bad when they try to get you to do something. And you feel in your intuition, you feel in your soul that this person is just trying to see how they can manipulate me so they can get their ego boost, so they can feel better about themselves, like, wow, I just manipulated this person, I just got away with that. When you're in those situations, they don't care about your feelings. They're not taking your feelings into account. They're not asking, how am I making this person feel when I'm trying to manipulate them and trying to take from them when they clearly don't want to and they're uncomfortable. And I'm making them feel unsafe by trying to manipulate them. This is the thing about selfish and entitled people. They're not thinking about you and your emotional wellness and your well-being. They only have an agenda for themselves to be comfortable, but they will not ever risk themselves being in a place where they feel uncomfortable. So if the roles were reversed, they would clearly say, no, I'm not doing that for you, because they're only thinking about their own self-gain and self-validation from you, from what you do for them. So don't let people play on your emotions. Don't let them make you feel bad whenever you don't want to do something for them. And when they mistreat you and then they want to come around and ask you for a favor, at that point, you don't owe them absolutely nothing. They did not give you anything. In fact, they made you work even harder to get back what you lost, what they took from you. And that's your sanity, your good mental health, your physical health, your energy. You have to work on it again. So no, they're not entitled. So stop allowing people to feel so entitled to you and your life. You see, selfish people are going to try to get in the way in your life. And most times, selfish people will not put in the work. They will not do the same for others. They don't even know what reciprocity is. Most of their relationships are one-sided. And if you say no to them, they have a list of other people that they're going to go to and are their go for, so they can get whatever they want from you. They're going to end up just calling someone else to ask for that favor, or they're going to end up doing it themselves, especially when it's a really simple favor that they can do it themselves. You don't need to do it for them, because people are going to test you. This is the thing with boundaries too. People will test you in the beginning. They'll see how far your boundaries are. They'll start by giving you certain jokes about yourself to see, are you okay with me talking to you this way? And if you don't stand up for yourself, they're going to think, oh, well, they don't care about the way that I speak to them. I could talk to them however I feel like it. I can talk to them like they're a child. Or I can talk to them with a patronizing voice. And, no. They don't have the right to talk to you that way or treat you that way. So, entitlement is a form of selfishness. Now, I'm going to focus on the type of people that we need to set boundaries with. Entitled people. Because entitlement is a form of selfishness. The person is being selfish from within, and it's outwardly demonstrating that they feel entitled because of their selfishness. And so they have this type of mentality. You owe me. I deserve it. I want this. And if I want it, then I'm going to get it. It's kind of like the world that we live in. Take, for instance, fast food. We have a bunch of consumerism, marketing. Anything that anyone wants nowadays, I want this, so I'm going to go get what I want. And they quickly just go and get it. And they don't even care about people's feelings. And that's the problem, is that people are being so selfish that they're not taking the other person and putting themselves in their shoes with having empathy, empathetic towards another person. And they're only thinking about their entitled mentality, that I deserve it and I should get it just because I exist. And just because I feel I'm better than this person. That's why this person should perform for me and do whatever I want them to do. It's not. Nope. Life's not like that. We're all just as important. We all deserve. There's no one who's better or higher than you. Even in jobs. Even in jobs as well, your boss, they don't have the right to treat you bad. They don't have the right to talk to you in a disrespectful tone. You're all humans. And no one's better than anyone in that regard with setting boundaries. And so they have inherited, or they were either raised, spoiled, given everything, or sometimes even narcissistic people also are deprived. So now they have this mentality of lack, that there's only so much for everyone to have. So I'm going to go ahead and take as much as I can from any person. And if I see a giver and I see how loving they are, that's the perfect person for me to just depend on, to leech on to. And they will leech on to you, and they'll only call you whenever they need something, or whenever they feel like they want to take something from you. That's when they'll appear in your life. These entitled people. And that's why you have to set boundaries with your time as well. You're not always going to be available for them whenever they feel like they want to just come back into your life, or when they feel like they need something from you. You put time boundaries, and I'm sorry, but I'm really busy right now. I can't help you. And don't feel bad about doing this. You see, we have this mentality that we feel bad. We start feeling guilty, because guilt and shame was an emotion that many of us felt when we didn't do something. And when we had to earn love, earn respect by doing stuff for other people. Our value does not diminish based off of the ability to perform and do stuff for other people. You see, if someone loved you, someone respected you, they would understand that you deserve to take care of yourself as well. and someone who doesn't care, who's disrespectful, and who's just using you for their agenda. When you set a boundary with them, they're going to throw a temper tantrum. They're going to make you feel guilty. They're going to want to argue their way for you to say yes to them. And they're not going to respect a no. They're going to say, but why? Why can't you? And explain it. I don't get it. It's something so simple. Why can't you do it for me? That's why you need a boundary with that person. Because they're clearly not respecting you in that moment. So entitlement, these entitled people, selfish people, they have the belief that one is inherently deserving or privileged for special treatment without earning it, without doing anything for the other person. And even if they do something for another person, it's going to be something so small, or just like in the beginning, they're going to do nice gestures. But it's a manipulative game. They're always going to hold that nice act of kindness fake act of kindness, it's fake, that they did for you, or whatever they gave to you. They're going to hold it always above your head and remind you constantly. Remember when I did this for you? Remember when I gave you this? Remember when I helped you that time that you needed help? Why can't you help me this time? And they're going to ask tons of favors, and they're going to only remember those times that they helped you over your head. Even though someone has helped you throughout your journey or has done an act of kindness towards you, it doesn't mean that they're entitled to you or entitled to your success or whatever you have going on in your life, or your money, or whatever they feel that they're entitled to. They're not entitled to it just because they wanted to do something nice for you. When someone does something nice, an act of love towards another person, it has to come from within their heart. And someone who doesn't do it from within their heart, you can tell that they're manipulative and that they have a hidden agenda, because they'll do something nice, but they always expect you to bend over backwards and do all these tricks for them just because they did something for you. That's not how it works. And so an entitled person has a sense of deservingness, of feeling like they're owed a favor when they did little to nothing to deserve that special treatment. People who feel entitled, they perceive themselves as worthy of deserving more than other people, even when they do not even deserve more privileges. So, an example of this could be a student in a class. He didn't do any of his work for that course, and yet he demands an A in the class, and he complains to his parent, I didn't receive an A, and this teacher gave me the wrong grade. And even when they didn't even put enough effort into that assignment or into that project, but they feel they're entitled to an A in the class. This is an example of how entitled people work. They'll do little to nothing, and then they'll expect a big reward when they haven't even done anything to deserve that. So they tend to be self-absorbed, always thinking about their own needs always, and their wants first before anyone else's. So they always have this hidden agenda. When I come around this person helps me with this problem. This other person helps me with this. But when it's their turn to help, there's a no-show. They're not there because they're only takers. And they don't know how to give back. So entitled people are very dismissive of other people's needs, their emotions, and other people's well-being. They go through life always thinking that they are entitled to people. even when they haven't even done anything to earn or deserve them. So it's kind of like a woman with high value. With high value. She's got high standards, she's goal driven, she has all her life just a go-getter. And then this guy comes into her life, this man comes into her life with little to nothing to offer. And he feels entitled to a high value woman. But he hasn't done the inner work. He still plays manipulative games. He's still a distraction. And so he's not entitled to this high value woman. But he feels he's entitled. So that is just an example. I've actually witnessed this. And so they're very, and then the guy that doesn't do as much feels that they're better because they feel entitled to that person that's doing a lot more in the relationship, sacrificing themselves. And it's a one-sided relationship because there's no boundary set in place. So that's why it's important to set boundaries. So they are mostly ungrateful, arrogant, selfish, unkind, self-invested, and inconsiderate. They have this thing where they think, my needs are more important than your needs. What I want is more important than whatever you want. So there needs to be a balance in our relationships. This is why it's crucial to set boundaries. Your needs are just as important as anyone else's needs. No one else's needs are more important than your needs. And so anyone who makes you feel this way is not for you. When they feel like my needs are more important than yours and let's put your needs to the side and let's just focus on me. No, because your needs are equally as important as anyone else's needs. And if you're a selfless person, you're very empathetic, then you need to change the belief in your mind that says, I have to make sure everyone's okay for me to be okay. You're not responsible for other people's happiness. You're not responsible for taking care of other people who are capable of taking care of themselves. And so if you have this sense of belief that in order for me to be good enough, I have to do a lot for this person, then that belief needs to change, and it needs to be, no, this person is just as responsible as investing in this relationship as I'm responsible as investing. So you meet each other halfway. You're not going all the way over here because you're selfless and they're just right here. They don't want to move. They don't want to even jump a tiny puddle for you. It's like, or lift a finger for you. It's like they want you to just do this. And then meanwhile, they just stay there and feel entitled and selfish. Especially, let's change the scenario now. Let's change the scenario to people in your past who see who you're becoming. They see how you've been doing a lot of inner healing, how you've worked on yourself. And now they feel entitled to all that work, all that hard work, all that time that you spent doing all the inner work. And during those tough times, those lowest points of your life, they weren't there to support you. They were ghosts. They went ghost. And then they want to reappear back in your life. And they're going to test your boundaries to see if they can benefit off of your success, attach themselves to you somehow, and become a part of what you have going on. So you have to always think, I don't remember you sticking around during the challenging, tough times, during the hard work and all the dedication that I placed in my life to get to where I'm at. And let's always see this. They haven't done the inner work. They haven't done anything to better themselves. But yet they feel that they deserve to be on your level without doing none of the work, without even helping you to get to where you are at now. So set a boundary and say, what are you here for? And why do you think you deserve that? And let them answer the question, well, I think I deserve this. What makes you think that way? So you have the right to ask them questions whenever they demand something from you. You have the right to ask them, well, what makes you think that you deserve what you're asking for? It's like someone who asks you for rent money, like an old friend of high school who gives you a text message and says, can you help me pay $500 for my rent just because we were friends at some point in our life? So you can see, oh, so they're only here for their own benefit, and they want to trespass my boundary, my financial boundary. So you can say, I only have 50 at the moment. I won't be able to help you with the rest. And that's it. Or you can just say, I can't help you. I'm sorry. But I don't know. I don't know about saying I'm sorry, because then that is playing on the guilt. So always ask yourself, is what they're asking justifiable, or is it unjustifiable what they're asking from you? And remember, our hearts can be deceiving. Our own hearts, our own emotions can be deceiving. So we have to think logically, with common sense, critical thinking, to see, okay, is it reasonable for me to do everything that they're asking for? So that's why it's important to set boundaries. And we have to let go of the fear that we feel with saying no to someone. If it's going to cause an argument and they're going to be mad, let them be mad. Understand that that's their emotion to deal with. If they can't handle the no, then that's on them. But you're not responsible for how they end up feeling just because you set a boundary and you said no to them. Because many times I've experienced this when I said no to someone, then they want to start with the guilt and the mind games. They'll start saying, I thought you were a good person. I thought you were better than that. I thought, wow, I thought you were so nice. I can't believe you're like that and you said no to me. So just because you say no to someone, it doesn't make you a bad person. Don't let them try to manipulate you and try to make you feel like you're not good enough just because you won't do stuff for them. It doesn't diminish your value. And so let's go ahead and start with the different types of boundaries that need to be set in place. The first one is physical boundaries. Physical boundaries refer to personal space and physical touch. Healthy physical boundaries include an awareness of what's appropriate and what's not. In various settings and types of relationships, hugs, handshakes, or a kiss, physical boundaries may be violated if someone touches you when you don't allow them to, or when they invade your personal space. For example, standing way too close to you, not giving you personal space. So there's different ways to set physical boundaries. The first one is, I don't like being touched that way or held this way. I feel tired. I need a break. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go grab a bite now. Please knock before walking in my room. And I don't appreciate blank. Can you please blank? You can also start by saying that I don't appreciate when blank, and it makes me feel. Explain your emotion. Uncomfortable, overwhelmed, angry, frustrated. I don't appreciate when you blank. Because it makes me feel blank. Can you please blank? And if you do this again, then blank. Set a consequence. So they know not to trespass that boundary, because if they do, there's going to be a consequence for them treating you the way that you enforce them to treat you. So then we also have intellectual boundaries. These refer to thoughts and ideas. Healthy intellectual boundaries include respect for others, their ideas, and an awareness of appropriate discussion. Should we talk about the weather, politics, religion, someone's mental health, or personal life questions? Intellectual boundaries are violated when someone dismisses or belittles another person's thoughts or ideas or personal information and life. So the intellectual boundaries you can set are, I know we disagree on this topic, but it doesn't make it okay for you to belittle me. The next one is, we never get anywhere in our discussions on this issue. Let's shelf it for now. Yes, we surely need to talk about this, but the dinner table isn't the best place for it. Let's agree to disagree. Then we also have emotional boundaries. These refer to a person's feelings. Healthy emotional boundaries include limitations on what a person wants to share or when not to share personal information. For example, gradually sharing personal information during the development of a relationship, as opposed to revealing everything about yourself to someone. Emotional boundaries are violated when someone criticizes, belittles, or invalidates another person's feelings, experiences, and reality. So emotional boundaries is when you tell someone, oh, something about like a traumatizing event that happened in your life, and they want to invalidate you and tell you that it's not that bad, that you're exaggerating. You have the right to set an emotional boundary with that person that is gaslighting you, that is making you feel like your feelings and your experience is wrong when it's right, because these are your emotions and you have the right to express your emotions and tell someone how they're making you feel. So there's ways to set emotional boundaries. You can start by saying, my feelings being criticized makes me want to shut down. When you criticize my feelings, it makes me want to shut down. Or I can share my feelings with you only when they're received with respect. I will only share my feelings with you only when they're received with respect. Or I'm sorry you're having a hard time, but I'm not in the place to listen right now. I really need to talk about some things right now. Are you in a place to listen? Then we also have sexual boundaries. These refer to emotional, intellectual, and physical aspects of sexuality. Healthy sexual boundaries involve mutual understanding and respect of limitation and desires between sexual partners. Sexual boundaries can be violated with unwanted sexual touch, pressure to engage in sexual acts, leering, or sexual comments. So there's, let's see. So a couple of ways to say that. And one is, I don't feel comfortable doing this. Or, I'm not okay with this. I'm not enjoying this, let's do something different. So these are all different types of boundaries that are important to set with people in our lives. And we have the right to advocate for ourselves. Then there's also material boundaries. Financial boundaries are all about money. Boundaries around joint versus separate accounts. How much goes into savings, what purchases you want to make, and how the funds will be balanced. Thank you, Lyrical Light. So this refers to money and possessions. Healthy material boundaries involve setting limits on what you will share and with who. For example, it may be appropriate to lend a car to a family member, but probably not to someone you met this morning or a friend that you don't really know that well. Material boundaries are violated when someone steals or damages another person's possessions, or when they pressure them to give or lend them their possessions. So when someone comes into your house and says, "Oh, I really like your shirt. Can I borrow that shirt for a couple of days?" And then you never see that shirt ever again. So this is a material boundary. Or when someone says, I need to pay my rent. Can you lend me some money? And you decide how much you're willing to lend them, because that's your boundary that you have to set with the person who's demanding or asking you for a favor. And so some of the financial boundaries you can set will be, I can't lend you my car since your name is not on the insurance. I'd appreciate if you get the car serviced after the road trip. Let's go over the credit card bill and divide who owes what. We can't give out more money to blank Let's find another way to help them, to help out. So we can't give out more money to blank. Let's find another way to help them. We should go over the details of the mortgage and decide who pays for what. So it's just an example. It says, I'd appreciate if you can get the car fixed after the road trip. It's just an example that you can just use that you could just use to set a financial boundary. You could just say, I appreciate if you could get the car checked or fixed before this time or before I go to work. Then there's another one. I'd like to keep my personal account active and not have my salary credited in our joint account. Then we also have time boundaries. Time boundaries, let's say for instance, you have a friend that constantly texts you a lot during the day. Like a lot, calls you, leaves voicemails all the time, does not respect your time, always wants your undivided attention, and constantly telling you, oh, what are you doing? How have you been? And you're busy doing something. You're busy working on a project or something, and they're constantly texting you, and your phone is buzzing nonstop. You have the right to set a boundary with your time and text them or call them or send them a voicemail saying, I received your call, but I have to inform you that I'm really busy, so I won't be able to help you out, or I won't be able to text you right now, or I'll call you whenever I have the time. I'll call you back. So you have the right to dictate over your time because it's your time. So you can tell someone that I'm so busy right now, so I won't be able to text you during this moment. I'll text you when I get the chance. Or I'll call you back whenever I have the opportunity to call you back. So when there's respect for you and the time that you spent outside of the relationship or a workplace or in your personal life, you have the right to set boundaries in your life. However, a constant violation of these will leave you feeling suffocated. Like you feel suffocated with people who just constantly want to take as much time away from you. Even in conversations. Let's say a stranger or a family member converses with you and spends the whole entire 5 hours talking to you, draining you from your energy. You have the right to say, I only have about 5 minutes, or I'm gonna have to leave. Or when you're at an event or a party, you have the right to say, oh, I'm only gonna stay here for about 2 hours and then I'm gonna go ahead and head out. If the people there are toxic, abusive, and manipulative, or when you're around a narcissistic person, you have the right to say, I only have about 5 minutes. Give an amount of time that you feel that you're ready to just leave that conversation or stop texting someone. So some examples of setting boundaries of your time can be, I can't accompany you to that event this weekend. I have plans with my friends. But let's say there's a family event, or there's an event going on, and someone really wants you to go, but you have already compromised with another person that same day. So you have the right to say, I can't accompany you to that event this weekend, or I have plans with my friends that Saturday. Then there's also, do you have time to talk? Or I don't have time to talk. It can go both. And let's plan weekly date nights because I'm busy throughout the week. Turning off the TV after dinner will give us time to connect with each other more. How do you feel about that? So even when you're out in public with a friend and they're on their phone a lot and you're trying to have a conversation with that person and you constantly see them on their phone, you can say, do you mind not using your phone while we're having a moment together, or just hanging out together? Do you mind not using your phone while I'm trying to talk to you and connect with you? So you have the right to advocate for yourself and put yourself as well first with someone who wants to disrespect you that way. So here's more boundaries on how to set more boundaries. Soft, do this with safe people. Start out with one of this. Hey, insert name. Could I talk to you about something? Set a time. First, I wanted to say that give a compliment. I do not mean attack you, but I am about to say, I just want to share what I'm feeling and ask for your help. So examples of this would be when you say or when you do blank. I feel blank. Would you mind not doing that in the future? So take notes again if you're taking notes. When you do or say, whichever one you choose, when you say comments about my weight, I feel I don't know, whatever word you want to say. And then you say, would you mind not doing that in the future? I'd really appreciate it. The next one is, I appreciate you wanting to help by blank, but would you mind helping me by blank instead? And then firm, use these with toxic people and manipulators. I'd like it when you blank, I'd like it to stop. Or I don't appreciate it when you blank, I'd like it to stop. I don't like when you do this or that. Whichever thing it is, I'd like it to stop. I don't appreciate you blank, and I'd like it to stop. If they don't listen and if they continuously trespass your boundary, you cut those people out of your life. Just like that. You distance yourself. You take your presence out of their life because they're not respecting you. That's what you do. If you continuously have to tell someone how to treat you and how to act, and they know how to act, people are not oblivious. They're not stupid for simple words. They know what they do when they act, the ways that they act. So you have the right to say, I don't appreciate you when you blank, and I'd like it to stop. And when someone refuses to respect your boundaries, When people show no sign of respecting your boundary, the next step is to warn them of the consequences. See the end for possible consequences are appropriate for your situation. When someone will not agree to respect the boundary, when someone gets angry, these are the reactions that we have that people, mostly immature people, toxic people, entitled, selfish people, narcissistic people, they always will try to get angry at you. So you can say, I'm sorry you are unhappy, but I need this behavior to stop. The next time it happens, I will be leaving the situation. When someone disagrees with your boundaries or tries to argue with you, whether you agree with me or not, I need you to stop. Blank. And if you cannot stop doing that, I will not be spending time with you until you can. So you see how you set the consequence at the same time that you set the boundary? When someone wants to argue with you, you tell them, whether you agree with me or not, I need you to stop. Blank. If you cannot stop doing that, I will not be spending time with you until you can. Like that. When someone refuses to respect your boundaries, that is your choice, but I will not be allowing my children to come over here by themselves until you can respect me enough to stop this behavior. There can be another example. That's just an example. When someone gets hostile, abusive, and starts attacking you, this can also be with little children as well. Like when little children have tantrums because they didn't get their way. This is how adults act. They act in very childish, ridiculous ways that are very shocking because they haven't grown up and they can't accept no. This is a type of that's why we need to set boundaries. Because sometimes they'll get hostile or verbally abusive and they'll start attacking. So you can say, I understand you are upset, but I will not be yelled at. If you cannot be calm, I will leave. I'll go into another room until you can be calm. So when someone tries to get like they try to intimidate you into doing what they want you to do. They try to use guilt tripping, fear. They want you to be fearful of them because you don't want to do what they want you to do. They start being passive aggressive as well. You see, a lot of manipulators will try to be passive aggressive and they'll try to act passive aggressive towards you, give you looks, give you the silent treatment, ignore you, invalidate what you have to say. They'll get mad because you said no to them or you said I can't. They're gonna just ignore you, punish you, guilt trip you. And so you have to set a boundary by saying, I understand that you're upset, but I will not be yelled at. If you cannot be calm, I will leave. I'll go into another room until you can be. And when someone gaslights you, when you set a boundary or when you bring up an issue, so gaslighting refers to someone who tries to make out your perception of their behavior is flawed. So whenever you say, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to help you this time," then they're gonna want to make it feel like you have problems, that you're selfish, that you only think about yourself all the time. So I've had several instances where people want to play this game with me. When I said no to them, you're so selfish. You don't know how to be a giving person. So they'll gaslight you. They're trying to make your perception feel that their behavior is flawed. It's not flawed. So they might do this by trying to pretend that you're overly sensitive, that you have misread the situation, that you're mentally unstable, or cognitively impaired. This is high manipulators who do this type of stuff. And so what you have to do is you have to stay grounded to your reality. So then there's also different ways to say no. So let's say someone invited you for an invitation. You can say things like, "Thank you for thinking about me, but I'm afraid I already have plans." Side notes, if you don't even have plans yet, but there is something you would rather do, those are your plans. So even when you have your own free time, when you're just relaxing, taking the day off for yourself, and you don't have plans, but someone else wants to make plans with you that same day, and you plan to have some self-care and just take the day off and spend some time alone with yourself. You have the right to say, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I'm afraid I already have plans that day." You don't have to go in detail telling them what kind of plans you have, where you're going. Just say, "I already have plans." Leave it at that. And then there's also, "Let me think about it and I'll get back to you." If you still need time to think about a situation. So this, for example, is also in car dealers when they want to sell you a car. And they're going to use lowballing and manipulative tactics to sell you a car. So they're going to try to sell you the car and tell you, "This is the best offer you could get this car at. It's at the lowest price right now. And there's no other car like this. This is the last chance you'll be able to get this car because the prices are going to go up really soon. So you have to make a choice to buy this car." Or they'll only give you two choices. You only have this choice, to buy that car or to buy the other car. And they'll try to keep you from saying no to them. You have the right to say, "Let me think about it and I'll get back to you." You don't have to make a quick decision. Even when someone, even for example, a person in your life they'll try to do this. They'll try to ask for a big favor first. They'll tell you, "Oh, can you lend me $100? And then you'll say, "No, I can't." "Okay, well, if you can't lend me 100, then can you lend me at least $20? So you can also say, "Let me think about that and I'll get back to you." Or you can just say no. Because they're trying to test the boundaries with you. And then for request, when someone wants to request something out of you. "Oh, can you help me this day because I won't be able to take care of my kids. So can you take care of my kids for me? Can you take care of my dog?" And just a bunch of favors. Thank you, David. Yeah, they'll ask for favors that you haven't even had time to think about. So let's say this is another example that happened to someone. They got into an accident and they needed a great amount of money to a loan, to someone to lend them a lot of money. And it was a really big request. And the person didn't have that type of money to help them out with that type of money. So sometimes you just have to say the reality, because if not, if you give them all your money and you don't even have enough money for your own self to keep yourself from eating and paying your bills, then what happens is you won't have anything for yourself. Your cup's gonna be empty. And I know it's good to think about other people as well. It's good to be selfless. It's not good to only think about yourself. That's the thing about relationships. There has to be give and take, you know? You have to both give and then take, and it has to be like that. That's relationships. It's okay to give to people you love, but people you trust. Not people you don't trust, not people who don't respect you. Don't give to them. But you can give to people who respect you, who love you, who demonstrate their loyalty. You can show them appreciation if it comes from a place of your heart. That's a good feeling, because that's love. There's different types of love. And so I do think that if someone is showing you a lot of love and helping you a lot, you do deserve to at least, pour back into them as well. It has to be a healthy balance. Yes. And so when someone asks you for a really big request or a small request and you really don't have the time, the energy, the physical ability to help them out, you can say, "I'm so sorry about your situation, but I won't be able to help this time." Or another one is, "I'm afraid I have other commitments. I won't be able to blank, but I can blank. Will that work for you? And I won't be able to do that, but is there something else I can do for you?" We can also just leave it as, "I won't be able to do that," and leave it at there. Because if we want someone who has value, we also have to bring value into their lives. That's what I was sharing in the beginning of this live stream. That we have to add value, but they also have to add value into our life. It's a two-way street. Another example is also those people who try to sell you. They try to sell you a product. Like when you go to the mall or when you go somewhere and they're trying to sell you a product that they want you to buy. It can be a new car, a watch, some sunglasses. And you look at the price and you see, whoa, I don't have that type of money. But they're trying to pressure you. To buy something. So you can say, "I'm not interested in hearing about this product. Have a nice day and I wish you the best of luck." If that ever happens. And then the last one is when someone tries to gaslight you and tries to manipulate you when you say no to them. When they become very hostile, aggressive, and they start attacking you verbally. You can say, "I'm so sorry you're unhappy with my decision, but I won't be talked to like this. Can you stop, or do I need to leave or hang up?" This also goes in phone calls. I've done this a couple of times. When I was talking to someone on the phone and they were wanting to argue with me through the phone. And I just said, "I won't be talked to this way. And if you continue to talk to me this way, I'm just going to hang up." and they didn't respect my boundary. And so I waited a couple more and I just hang the phone up because they weren't gonna respect the fact that they were yelling at me through the phone. And I was talking in a very calm manner while they were just yelling at me through my ear. So I said no. And then there's the arguing. When someone wants to argue with your standards, trying to make you lower your standards for them. You can say, I'm sorry you're unhappy, but I have made my decision, and it's not up for debate. And then guilt tripping or acting hurt or sad. When, okay, so much experience with this one. When they guilt trip you and then they want to act hurt and sad, like they're helpless without your help. Like they won't be able to survive without you doing something for them. They'll act like they're depressed, like they're so hurt, as soon as you say you can't. And so a boundary that you can set in that moment is just say, I'm sorry you feel hurt about my decision. And you can say, I plan on not changing my decision. So I'm sorry you feel hurt about my decision, but I plan on not changing my decision. So this is important to set these boundaries at workplaces. It's important to set these boundaries with family, friends, any new person that comes into your life. You need to have time boundaries, physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, spiritual boundaries, financial boundaries. And if they do not respect your boundaries, if it's just a constant repetition of you sounding like a robot, constantly telling them, and they don't respect you, get rid of those people out of your life and don't feel bad. You see, I had to cut out a lot of people like that, like narcissists, toxic manipulators, because they don't want to change. And so I'm not going to stick around to make someone wait on them to change their ways when they don't see a problem in their ways. So it's important to set boundaries. And someone said we also have to set boundaries for ourselves. Yes. And so those are the types of boundaries that I have. For this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned a lot. I'm gonna be ending this video soon. Thank you guys so much for for watching this video. Okay. Have a good night and continue to be yourselves. Continue to stay true to who you are. And continue to shine that beautiful light with the world.